Guten Morgen, bonjour, and hello here from Schweiz in Green City. My name is Lars Sommerer. I'm the Managing Director of SwissPropTech, and I'm here with my good friend, treasured member, buyer and owner and current CEO of FirstCaution, Céline Frey. Céline, it's a pleasure to have you here with us this morning and to talk to you about the current development, the current stage of FirstCaution, to look back with you, talk about current events, and look in the future with you. Welcome to Zurich.
Thank you, Lars. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here and have this discussion with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I want to give a quick shout out to our friends here at Schweiz, in which offices we are here in Zurich Green City. They let us use this studio and have this talk about your company, about PropTech in general, about real estate, because it's so important to have these talks, right?
Absolutely.
Especially in the age of artificial intelligence, the human interactions become even more and more important. And that's what I wanted to ask you first. What motivated you personally, to join FirstCaution and later take on the role of CEO?
Yes, that's a good question. It was, so flashback, we are in, it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 2015. At the time, I worked with my father in the family-owned company. We are active in the real estate and the wine business. And there is this opportunity to buy out FirstCaution. So we look at the company. Long story short, because it's kind of complicated at the time, but we decided to jump into that opportunity and we buy FirstCaution in 2015. And I was having other position within the company at the time, but I get involved very fast in the operation of FirstCaution, as my father does at the time, by the way. And there is a CEO at this moment, but very quickly we realized that we are not aligned with the CEO. And the kind of disagreement where you feel that you cannot project yourself. So I think it was in June, maybe May, June, we decide to part away without notice. And I said, okay, I will step in at this CEO position because I was already involved in the company. And I think at the time it would be an interim position, but then it became obvious. I started to work more and more in that company. And very quickly, I decided to leave my other position and to focus only on FirstCaution. And I think what made me make that decision, even though it was not like one moment, but more a feeling, but it's the potential of the market was obvious. Yeah. The people I met, even though it was not difficult at the time, because the situation of FirstCaution, I mean, we had to really make a lot of effort to regain the trust of the market. But I met fantastic people. So I saw the opportunity, I saw the potential. There was only one dominant player in the market at the time named SwissPropTech. So yes, I just felt it was natural and obvious to take that position. And I'm very happy that I did.
Yeah, and I agree. I think you had the right instinct, because in a tenant-first based country like Switzerland, there are so many tenants, it's a tremendous market, right? And it has so much potential. But at the beginning, like a PropTech company, you were in an environment where it was maybe troubled, it was chaotic, so you had to bring order in it, and then you realized now we're ready to scale. So what moment or what milestone gave you the feeling that decided to scale, to go for the nationwide business, to go for the big game?
So I do not remember a specific moment, because I think it was more progressive. But if I had to identify key points, I would say that the moment I felt that we regained the trust on the market, that we were legitimate on that market with the ecosystem of real estate players, was a key moment. Then the moment that we decide to migrate our CRM to Salesforce, I remember that every time we were trying to evolve and to grow, the IT people were telling me, it was a small team at the time, but I kept hearing, oh, we have a technological debt. This we cannot do because we have a technological debt. And it was an in-house CRM that has been developed at the time. And so we had to take the decision, okay, what are we going to do? And we decided to migrate to Salesforce, which at the time was a big decision, migration. I did not know back then, but after I can say that I've got 3 kids, but this was my most difficult and intense giving birth, this migration, you know. But yes, that was then, once we had migrated, we were able to really develop and grow and make the right moves. And also, I would say at the time I felt that we had the good people in the team.
Yeah, that's what we keep saying to PropTechs. I mean, you know, external scale is good. Getting more customers, getting more revenue is fine, but you also need to scale internally, right? Because if you forget about that, you'll have a chaotic environment, people are unhappy, high fluctuation, they will leave, right? So I think that's a key decision you made back then.
And that's a very important point that you made, because I did not really realize that at the time. And the fact that what you're saying, that the company is growing and you focus on the market and scaling up, but then you forgot about internal organization, internal communication. And at one point, we felt that the company was growing faster than we did. And it was kind of unbalanced. So we had to change the size of the company. So we decided to hire more people. But then it's difficult to find, I mean, it can be like kind of a growth crisis, because you need to find your right path. We want to remain like an agile, independent player, but we had to muscle up though with the right people. And we struggle a little bit to find the good balance between coming from a very small company, we are still small, but like growing without losing our DNA. And I found this was a big challenge.
Right, so you need the right people for the right timing, really, right? I mean, if they can grow with you, perfect, but otherwise you need to, you know, face realities and let people go at some point also, right? So those decisions from your earlier years, they were very important and they were very heavy, I guess. You're still doing them today, but you know, in other fields. So what would you do exactly the same, thinking back, and why would you say, oh, this I would have changed?
That's a complicated question, but I would have gone faster on making changes, you know, take more risk. And actually the market was most simple at the time. There were less competition. So I would, if I had knew, I would have, okay, let's go faster and faster, even though at the time I saw that I was going fast, but not fast enough with the perspective that I have now. And also I would focus more quickly to this migration, not wait until it became obvious, but maybe at the time you see that you have something keeping you back, pushing you back, you need to make a decision, not wait.
Right.
And I would have made that decision earlier. And also maybe the thing that I would have done differently, it was this change of size internally and the way we organized people internally. I think at what time we went too far away in the other direction. And it's very important. You have different model of companies. We are still a small and medium company. We have 75 people here. But our DNA, we are a family owned, we are agile. We are not a very big company. We want to keep the hierarchy very low. We want to keep the proximity. We want to be very fast in the decision-making process. So you need to find the right people for that. You can have brilliant people, but they do not share this kind of view on the management. And then it's good to have different views, because that's what makes you grow. But you still need to be aligned on the values and how you feel about the company and the mid to long-term view.
And I think exactly in your position, an entrepreneurial mindset as the base for your corporate DNA is important, right? You don't want to be a big corporate company with structure similar to, you know, a stock listed company. You want to be fast, agile, and able to adapt and, you know, go with the market, especially because the market in Switzerland has changed in recent years so fast, right? I mean, you were one of the pioneering companies, but right now there is a myriad of companies, a lot of them are PropTechs also, that have realized the potential of this. So how has the market changed in your opinion, and what impact or an effect does it have on your business model at FirstCaution?
Okay, if you look back at the 10 years, the market in Swiss is still a rentals-oriented market. Access to purchase is still very complicated. And as everyone knows, the tension on the market makes the access to rentals also complicated. So the value of the model of rental guarantee without deposit is even more accurate right now.
Yeah.
But if you look at our market in the rental guarantee business, yes, you're right, there are much more players now that there was in the past. But that comes with the potential of the market. You cannot keep it for yourself. And I think it's very good for at the end, it's a positive cycle where the competitions, my father always says competition is like vitamin C because it pushes you to become more smart and innovative. What I see on the market and what is a little bit frustrating, it's not equal competition.
Yeah.
And there are so many different players, and some of them, they only see the growing client portfolio potential. And I think it's wrong. Because the differentiation between a classic insurance and our business is that the person who pays the fee is not the person who gets insured. So we always have to be very careful about this triangle when we need to be focused on the client, but also focus on the partners. And some of those new players, they forget that at the end, they need to pay the claims. So it's very easy, not easy, but to attract clients, tenants.
Yeah.
So you come and you make great promises in terms of price, in terms of processes. But at the end, in 2 or 3 years, you need to be able to pay the claim. This is our reason of being. That's the fundamentals. And that's what we always keep in mind first. And I'm very frustrated because those people who came not as insurance companies, most of the time as brokers, they don't care about this long-term view. They don't carry the risk.
Yeah.
But I think it will damage the market at one point because if those, and I don't say that they will, but if in case with the model that I see, they're not able to keep their promises at the end and to pay those claims that needs to be paid, then it can be hurtful for the business.
Yeah.
So there are different players, but there are, yes, insurance company, FINMA regulated, as we are, and there are a couple. I mean, SwissCaution obviously is one of them. You have AXA, you have others. But then there are all these brokers coming in, and I will be careful on that.
Yeah.
Even though they come with great ideas, of course, and that needs to be taken into consideration.
Well, you're right. It should be a partnership, right? You shouldn't be in a hierarchical environment where it's just, very attractive to buy, but when you actually need them, you'll get, let go. That's not good. So partnerships are very important, right? Especially for you with property management companies, with brokers. Many of them are actually part of SwissPropTech also, or PropTech companies. So what kind of role do they play in your growth strategy, in your growth plan? Where do they fit in? How important are they?
They're essentials. I would be there like the prime level of focus. Because if you think about our product, nobody dreams about a rental guarantee. The tenant, they need a rental guarantee. They dream about their apartment. So we are just an accessory to help them to get to their apartment. And so we need to be there at the right time with the right product. And our goal is to really integrate to the customer journey, not to be an extra step. But in order to do that, we need to be integrated with the one who do really carry this moving process, so the property managers. And if we want them to push our visibility to the tenants, obviously we need to bring them some service. And what can we bring to this professional as a rental guarantee provider? We can bring simplicity. Yeah. So our promise is such as, if your tenant choose FirstCaution as a rental guarantee, we will decrease the time that you spend on rental guarantee by, I hope one day, say 90%, because we will simplify onboarding and offboarding process. Yeah. And that with never forgetting the reason of being of that product is that we need to be able to pay the claim at the end.
Of course. I mean, that's like, your promise, your service promise. If you buy a car, you need it to drive. Everything around it is...
Always keep in mind what we're here for.
Right,
and sometimes some people that tend to forget that.
Yeah, and people lose themselves in skills and capabilities that are very nice and promising and very good sounding. But, in the end, it just comes down to a couple of key skills. So what do you think, when you look back and when you look ahead, is important in your people? What do they need to possess? What kind of capabilities, what kind of skills do they need in PropTech or FinTech or in insurance companies such as yourself?
I think we need to be very close to the market. So that's a bit paradoxal because we are talking about PropTech and digitalization, but it starts with a need. And that specific need, at least in real estate, I don't know about other businesses, but it needs to be adapt to the market. And in order to know exactly what fits the market, you need to talk to people, you need to meet them, you need to observe, you need to understand exactly how it works. And I see too many great ideas, but what I call the whiteboard ideas, so it works very well in the meeting room, but actually it's not a real need. And also you need to be on time, because sometimes what you have described is actually a good product, but it's too early to be accepted. So it's to be the innovation needs to be adapted and at the right time. So obviously what you need is people who have all these tech capabilities, who are able to innovate, who are able to build those processes. But at the same time, they need to be very, very close to the market. And this is where, this is what I like about this business, because it's not digitalizing and losing yourself. It's still very much connected to human. And I really like this combination of communication, connection, talks, and imagining the solutions of the future by innovating.
Yeah, right. I absolutely agree, and it's very interesting to see that when you give that freedom, people will be very innovative. They will be right on scope, but they may be a little free floating, right? So. At the same time, if you regulate it too much, you will kill innovation, and you will have just a normal bureaucratic company, which is just really boring, right? So how do you manage to remain both innovative and agile, but also in a sense, regulated as such that you don't have a lot of free spirits that just do whatever they want?
I see the regulation as a framework, and there is free space to explore within that framework. And the FINMA regulation, obviously it's a lot of work and limitation, but it's also a security for us. It's like the entry barrier of our business. So for the last 10 years, and I think there is still innovation to provide, but for example, when I look at the main disruption that we have brought to the market, when we have launched the flexible rental guarantee, so before that, bank deposit was with the bank, and insurance was with an insurance company. But you had to choose at the beginning of your leasing contract. And we thought, okay, that's not good for the client because the situation might change. And we thought about a place where the tenant could choose whatever they want and change at any time. But we're not a bank. So we had to work together with FINMA to be able to provide this solution where the tenant can choose by FirstCaution either a bank deposit, but which remains flexible, or an insurance. They can switch between the two at any time. And to give you a use case, for example, if I am between two apartments, I rented one and I rent a new one, I need to provide a new guarantee for the new one, but my security deposit is still blocked. And the time that I get this money back, maybe I need to block another 3 months. So that's 6 months blocked, which is a lot.
Can actually be up to a year, right?
Yes, and what we allow to clients is to start with an insurance, and once they get their money back, they can move. So that was quite challenging with FINMA, but we managed to do that. And more recently, we launched the monthly payment for the fee, which is very much like lifestyle kind of subscription, And that was also a challenge. It looks simple when you say like that, but it was quite challenging. But we managed to make all of that. I mean, we have the right people, we have the compliance people working on that, and being in that framework of the FINMA regulation. So I see it as clearly a possibility.
So you talk about, a rental subscription like a Netflix or a Spotify subscription, right? So what makes a good customer experience for tenants and landlords, in your opinion? What's important? Because I know your website's very colorful, it's very intuitive, right? And you instantly grab what it's about. So what makes a good customer experience?
I would say, as far as we are concerned, the good experience is the one that you don't remember, because again, the client, they do not want a rental guarantee, they just need it. So if it's very easy to access, fast forward and simple, they will just don't think of it, and that's a good experience for us. Our promise is that you can have your rental guarantee in 3 minutes, so you just apply online. We developed all the self-service, so if you want to do it on your own and not have any contact with us, you can. But at the same time, and I'm very, very careful that we remain this good balance between self-service but also humanization of our service. I hate this website where you don't find the phone number, where you cannot call. So what we did is that at the same time, for people who want to do everything on their own, they can. But in case you have any question, you can find them on your own as well, but you can call, and like 3 ringtone, you have someone. We have all our customer service based in Switzerland and ready to help our clients and partners. And when I look at the Google reviews, what I realize is that people really appreciate that, because most of the time they do not write about FirstCaution, but they write about people who they talked to. And that shows how important this is, even in a digitalized insurtech service, to have this contact.
You know, especially in cases where there is a lot of money involved, uncertainty, and you know, moving is always very stressful.
Absolutely.
I guess it's one of the most stressful situations you can encounter, right? So I guess human interaction in a digital first environment is actually very helpful and very reassuring, right?
And it's very emotional. We talk about having a roof above our head, so it's essential. Right. So it's it gets like very emotional.
Food, drink, home, right?
Absolutely.
Very, very basic.
Absolutely.
When you talk about landlords and property managers and their integration of solutions like FirstCaution, how does that look exactly? So where do you step in? Where do you come in? Do you come in, you know, in the online registration process, or when they, you know, pronounce interest for an apartment? How does it work from that end exactly?
So there are many ways, many possible ways, and we have built different API models, and it's like a catalog of APIs, and we go and see partners, and they can choose what they want to integrate according to their processes. But if I have to summarize, we want to digitalize onboarding and offboarding, that the 2 entry points that are important for us. So onboarding, we want to simplify the access to the rental guarantee. So for example, we will integrate on onboarding softwares, or the softwares where the property managers do the rental contracts, because they have everything that we need to provide the rental guarantee. So we will get the information from them. Obviously, we will also we are very careful about data consent, data protection. So we have this built also in our modelization. So that's upfront. And then at the end, we digitalize the offboarding process. So that's the announcement of the end of the leasing contract. That's the claim management, because we want to be very fast. We pay our claims every day, and we have already simplified a lot the process, so we do not ask for unnecessary document. But our belief is that everything that we need exists in the system, the solution that the property manager are using every day. So we don't want them to have to connect to another platform. We have a partner portal right now, but at the end I feel that this should disappear and be integrated in the environment that our partners are using. So they do not have to log into many platforms. They have everything in the same platform.
So it could either be, because if I remember correctly, it could be as part of the registration process on FlatFox, for example, right? Or as part of the property management software, for example, Garayore.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's 2 names, 2 providers that we are working with. And we cannot choose. We need to be there for every partner needs. And as you know, the property managers, they work with different combinations of solutions. So we have to build of these solutions, which makes this very challenging for us, because it's a lot of efforts and investment, but this is where we need to be.
So I want to take our discussion once more, because we're now very focused and very in-depth. I want to take it further back and, you know, give more of a bird's-eye perspective again. Which trends do you see will have the greatest impact in those kind of digital guarantee solutions and insurance models in the next years, and in the Swiss and in the European market? Are you looking at that as well?
Okay, we are not actively looking at the European market. We get approached by players in Europe and beyond, But our focus right now remains in Switzerland for different reasons. But the first one I would say is still the potential that we have to grow in Switzerland. And you know how difficult this is to focus your team to develop the existing challenges, and I don't want to disperse the effort somewhere else, because we have to, and that's a big challenge. We have to focus on the execution, but also on exploring new things for Switzerland. So I will focus more on the Swiss market, even though I'm sure that abroad there are the same trend going, and everything is obviously digitalizing. And I think the most important word to keep in mind is simplicity. Sometimes when we think about innovation, we think about complicating the processes too much.
Right.
And it's because you're very focused, and I like sometimes to just stop the thinking and just step back and look at it with a fresh eyes and say, okay, let's keep it simple. And that's always the best solution.
I agree. I mean, most PropTech solutions are actually making things easier, faster, more efficient, and thus, in the end, cheaper. I mean, sure, having a humanoid robot that can build a brick wall for you is a fantastic innovation and will change the construction industry in the next 10 to 20 years. But most often, innovation is just a very simplistic, new approach of doing things. Effectively saving a lot of human hours, right?
Absolutely.
So, apart from your own business, what biggest trends do you see right now in rental and in real estate in Switzerland? So where do you think we will change the most in the next few years?
It's difficult to say, because as we all know, there is a big tension on the market with unbalanced situation of demand and supply.
Yeah.
I feel that there is a need for a new model, and there we see things coming, but there is a very real and consistent difficulty that we need to build more.
Yeah.
And all of those new models, they are smart and they're fine, and I think that we are going into that direction. But at the same time, if there is more people asking for an apartment or a house than the supply, then this unbalanced situation needs to change. So maybe also at this stage there will be changes in how we think housing, and I believe that we need to make sure that everyone has access to housing.
Yeah.
That's fundamental.
Every technology cannot solve the underlying problem that we have too few
which is
supply
basic
in the market, which is really basic, right? But maybe it's something we need to take up with our friends from the politics as well, right? But we should not dive into that. It
absolutely.
will be another
and that's
discussion,
difficult
right?
to solve. But that's when I say basic, that's a basic problem that we see today and that we knew was coming for a couple of years now.
Artificial intelligence, for example, which in my point will be a complete paradigm shift. It will make things so much more different. For the first time, I think it won't make them more efficient. It will just, make things completely obsolete, right? But the base problem our industry has, and that's why it's been so resistant to innovation, is the fact that we're building houses for people. That's
Absolutely.
it, right?
That's concrete.
And the whole industry around has been grown around it, right? So if we cannot build more houses, all the other technologies won't solve the base problem, right? So, but that's maybe for a follow-up discussion with you, right? So when we talk about the base for your business model, data and analytics and predictive analytics as well. What do you think, or how important will data be also in the future of your business?
Obviously, that's essential. We have 125,000 clients right now, but for the last 10 years, we have dealt with hundreds of thousands of data, and we learned from that. The ground of our business is a risk management business. So the data that we use to build the right risk model is very essential. So we grow that own model, and we want to become the professional of the risk for us. And maybe at one point, if we believe that it can be also have different use, why not? So this is in terms of using the data to support the risk analysis model that we have, that is the insurance-based model.
Yeah.
And we can also look at the data on how, because today we only provide rental guarantee to our clients. And if we manage, and I do not want to diversify, I mean, we have so many questions about other partners who would like to approach our clients, but I don't want to do this unless there is a real value for our client. And if we're able to use those data and to identify exactly what will be added value, service, product to the client that we have by using their data, then maybe we will go into that direction. But we are not at that point yet.
You're right. I mean, an ecosystem can be extremely rewarding also for your clients and for the providers, but you don't want to become some like bazaar style mixed warehouse, right? Where you know everybody just bothers everybody. That's not good.
And I think that's you see too many and in our business many players that just thought, okay, we have many clients, we're going to sell a rental guarantee because this is so obvious, 65% of the population rents an apartment. But no, that does not work like this. You need to be legitimate. I will not start to sell, even though we have 125,000 clients, we will not start selling something if we are not legitimate, because this is not where people expect us. And it's very important to be aligned and to be where I believe in the pure player, like specialization, because you need to be the expert in your business. And if you diversify too much, I think you lose the legitimacy. That's my view.
I agree. So we should not expect you to sell cars within 5 years.
No, absolutely.
Or plans, but I'm sure there will be some changes. There will be major changes and new milestones for you when we have this call again or this talk again in 2, 3, or 5 years.
I hope so.
What's on the roadmap, and where are you heading with FirstCaution? What's your next big projects that you want to approach?
Okay, so I would say it's a continuity. We want to become the reference of the rental guarantee for the clients and for the partner. We want to simplify the access to rentals. So this is why we want to build like a unique solution where everyone find their what they need. It used to be the rental guarantee without deposit, the solution for tenants who did not have the money to make a bank deposit. It still is, because this is a reality, but we've also built other product services. So we are a 360 service for rental guarantee, both residential tenants, commercial tenants, students, the one who do not have the money, the one who have the money but want to keep it available. So we have built that. So we want to go further into that with becoming really the reference. But at the same time, if I really see where I want to be in the next couple of years, it's not only about the success and the number of clients. We're also thinking and trying to have a real social impact, and because we are in that rental business and again essential need to have a roof above your head, then I would like to support like great cause. We know that people are struggling to have access to rentals, to a house or an apartment, especially women. This is clear that this is more difficult for women to find an apartment. So I would like in few years to have succeed, because this is just an idea right now. So if people have ideas that I can support, I will be happy to, because this is also really a direction where we want to go.
So maybe we'll read about the FirstCaution Foundation very soon. Who knows, right?
Maybe. At least this is something that we want.
That's very honorable.
Collectively with the team, because I'm not the only one carrying this project. It's the whole team at FirstCaution. This is something that we want to achieve.
And what is your personal vision for the future of the housing and the rental market? And what wish would you like to say at the end of our talk today for our industry?
To find the stability. I mean, we are very lucky in Switzerland because the market is very stable, right? But yes, this pressure, we were talking about rents, the access to the
apartments,
and,
the supply in general.
To find the right balance. I know this is not as easy as it sounds, but this is where I believe we need to work hard to get.
And I think it's something that we should all strive for, to have a perfect balance between supply and demand. So Céline, it was a pleasure to have another talk with you and hear more about you, look back, talk about current events and look into the future. So it's a great honor and it was a great pleasure to talk to you. And I want to address our dear viewers once more and thank you for listening in and staying with us. And of course, I also want to thank the people of Schweiz that hosted us here today in Green City. It's been a pleasure here, and we're looking forward to the next interview with SwissPropTech or with friends and members of the Swiss real estate and construction industry. So Céline, thank you once more for being here today. It was a great pleasure, and to you at home, thank you very much for joining us today.
And thank you to the Svit as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lars.